Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 11th overall spot using FantasyPros Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's mock draft are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spots, a kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. But before we get on into this 12-team PPR mock draft using FantasyPros, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 11th overall spot. Now, as you guys are most likely going to notice, in the first round, we are going to see a ton of wide receivers go, which leaves us to really the pick of the litter at the running back position, and that was exactly what happened. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, and Puka Nacua go with the first 10 picks. So only 3 of the first 10 picks were running back. 7 of them were wide receivers this year, unlike years prior. I do not believe we'll see a tight end go in the first round of a majority of drafts. Now, the fact that only 3 running backs went, I think will happen in a decent amount of leagues, but your more casual home league will probably have a couple more running backs sprinkled in there because a lot of people are stuck in the old ways of wanting to hammer the running back position early. But based upon how this draft has been going and based upon how a lot of these mock drafts go, take your running back here, to me, makes the most amount of sense. Best wide receiver available is Garrett Wilson. I'm not going to sit here and slander the good name of Garrett Wilson. And I think Garrett Wilson could definitely hit his upside this season as long as Aaron Rodgers is able to stay healthy. And I actually think the addition of Mike Williams will help him. But at the 1.11, when Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley are all still available, Garrett Wilson is not even in my mind for this pick. In my opinion, the debate between Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, and Saquon Barkley, to me, is a debate that is worth having, right? Who do you like better? Personally, I'm going to lean with Saquon Barkley. I understand that losing Jason Kelce is really going to be a kick to the gonads of the Philadelphia Eagles offense. I think it's going to hurt the effectiveness of the tush push. But at the end of the day, I still believe that Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles for a reason. The Eagles brought him in for a reason. They want a running back that can run in between the tackles. They want a running back that can run outside the tackles. They want a running back that can catch passes. They want a running back that can do it all. I understand Saquon Barkley didn't really live up to expectations last year, but that's because the Giants offense as a whole was a complete and utter unmitigated disaster. To me, this is a no-brainer pick at the 1.11 to go with Saquon Barkley. Again, if you want to go with Jahmyr Gibbs or Jonathan Taylor, I wouldn't really argue with you too much. I think that the reason why I lean with Saquon over a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs is I can see Saquon being the running back 1 relatively easily. Now, I can also see that when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs, but Jahmyr Gibbs has a little bit more of a hurdle to overcome, and that hurdle's name is David Montgomery. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't need 8 gazillion touches to be successful. He doesn't need a Christian McCaffrey level workload to be successful, but when you are giving David Montgomery so many touches in this offense, it does somewhat limit the consistency as well of a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they both have pretty similar upside, but in terms of consistency, I think week in, week out, Saquon will be more consistent. So that is ultimately the straw that breaks the camel's back in this scenario, right? If we're picking sticks, this is the stick that's a little bit bigger. Pause. That's why we're going with Saquon Barkley. So Saquon Barkley, Garrett Wilson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Jonathan Taylor is on top of my mind here. I think we're going to go with Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor last season came into the year injured, as you could say. He missed the first 4 games, right? Zach Moss was on top of the world. And then Jonathan Taylor comes back and he isn't necessarily the best, but he finishes well at the end of the season. I ultimately think that Jonathan Taylor's last couple of seasons haven't been all that amazing, right? When you look at his career, it started off like a cannon shot, right? He comes out the gate on fire, NBA Jam style. He's the running back 4, then the running back 1, and then just like Humpty Dumpty, he kind of fell off the wall. But I do think that the resurgence is coming in 2024. I think an Anthony Richardson run-heavy type of offense is really going to help out Jonathan Taylor, and I think Jonathan Taylor will be very successful this season, and to me, in the second round, that feels like a very, very solid pick. So we have gone kind of off my contrary, right? Over the last couple of years, fantasy football, the paradigm shift really did turn towards the wide receiver position, and I'm someone that loves to draft wide receivers early, right? If you watch the videos a couple years ago, I was definitely a running back early guy. I like double tapping the running back position early, right? I liked annihilating, demolishing the running back position early. No diddy. I was dominating the running back button, but now I have kind of switched to being more of a wide receiver guy. But in times when the pendulum shifts too far, right? When you get Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor as your RB1 and RB2, I think it would be stupid not to do that. After Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, Devontae Adams, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, Drake London, Michael Pittman Jr., Kyron Williams, Devon A-Chain, Debo Samuel, Travis Etienne. The third round opens with Rashad with 2A's White, Nico Cousin, Let's Go Bolin Collins, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Sam Laporta, DJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco. This is something that I've noticed in a lot of mock drafts. This is something I've noticed in all of my underdog drafts. Like we talked about off the rip, you don't have to draft a tight end anymore in the first round. In my opinion, Sam Laporta is the tight end 1, so you can get the tight end 1 in the third round, which is very different from prior seasons. Travis Kelce, the guy who's normally at the head of the table, shout out Roman Reigns, is still available here in the third round. Mr. Swift, who I definitely would consider depending on the wide receivers that are available at this spot. It's also important to look at the teams around us. Now, it is early, but the team that is going to be picking in between our two picks, sandwiched in between here, has Garrett Wilson and Jahmyr Gibbs. They didn't go heavy running back. They didn't go heavy wide receiver, so it's kind of up in the air on who they're going to select. They might fuck around and go Jalen Hurts. They could go Travis Kelce. They could go with any running back or any wide receiver. So at this pick, I think we are going to go with a tight end. I'm going to secure, in my opinion, the second best tight end this season in fantasy football, and that is going to be Travis Kelce. Now, I know Travis Kelce had a down year last year, right? If you drafted him in the first round, it kind of felt like you got bent over a table, but he was still the tight end 2 last season. This guy is still on an offense with the best quarterback in the NFL. This guy is still one of the best tight ends in the National Football League, and this is a guy, in my opinion, that has the skills to pay the bills, right? They gave him a 2-year extension. I'm going to buy back in on Travis Kelce again. The third round is still top of the charts draft capital, right? It's not like he's like an 8th round pick or something, but the third round for a position where a lot of the weeks in a 12-team league, there's going to be a bunch of teams that have certified bums at the tight end position, and we're going to have a guy that any given week could pop off, score 25 plus points. So that's what's going to lean us towards going Travis Kelce, and I think we're going to be able to get a receiver that I like at the next pick, and I definitely feel a little bit more comfortable with Kelce compared to McBride. Not by a wide margin, but I definitely like Kelce, and if Rashee Rice is suspended for a long period of time, we might end up in a scenario where Travis Kelce gets even more targets than I would have previously thought. Now, they still have Hollywood Brown. They drafted Xavier Worthy, so it's not like they're devoid of talent at the wide receiver position, but I definitely think that will open up the door early on in the season for more Kelce, and Rashee Rice kind of just keeps getting in trouble. It's not just one thing at this point, the car thing. Then he slapped or punched a photographer. So that's just not a great look. So the guy I wanted, Jalen Waddle, did go. I know Jalen waddled away. Waddle was a huge disappointment last year. I think the addition of Odell will help them out. And I just don't see Jalen Waddle being as bad as he was last year. I mean, the guy is an upper echelon talent. He'd be the wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams. He just isn't afforded that situation in Miami because they have Tyreek Hill, who in my opinion is the best wide receiver in the NFL. No bias though, as a Dolphins fan. So we're up here. Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, all still available. Devontae Smith is going to be inconsistent game in and game out. And if this was just a gun to the head scenario, Nick, would you rather draft Devontae Smith or Joe Mixon or Aaron Jones, I honestly might lean more towards the running backs. But we drafted Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and Travis Kelce already. We need a wide receiver. Now, technically, we could start 3 running backs every single week, and that would not be all that bad for us, but I think we're going to end up going wide receiver here. Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, they're fine, but I don't really like drafting a quarterback super early. Now, Devontae Smith is a guy that is going to be relatively inconsistent game in and game out, but I definitely think that the upside is there for a top 12 finish, like exactly what happened in 2022. I think maybe the fact that they aren't able to tush push as much could lead to more targets going the way just as they're marching up the field, right? Instead of tush pushing with Jalen Hurts, maybe they hand the ball off more to Saquon Barkley. Maybe they throw the ball more to Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. We already have Saquon Barkley, so some people might be like, nah, I can't draft another Eagle. But the Eagles are a team that I prophesize to be a good team. It's not like we're drafting multiple guys on an offense that I project to just be straight up dick cheese or something like the Saints, or an offense that I'm just not very excited about like the Carolina Panthers. So I'm fine going to Devontae Smith here. I just don't really want anything to do with DK Metcalf. And if something was to happen to A.J. Brown, knock on wood, I think that Devontae Smith could easily finish as a top 5 wide receiver in points per game in those games that Devontae Smith is missing. So after we went ahead and went with the Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, the Heisman man himself, we see James Let Him Cook come off the board, Trey McBride, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Malik Neighbors, Kenneth Walker III, Aaron Jones, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, David Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Anthony Richardson, James Conner, Zay Flowers, CJ Stroud, and Tank Dell. Anthony Richardson is a very interesting player. Now, for Jonathan Taylor to hit his ceiling, I actually think having Anthony Richardson will be incredibly helpful. But what I will note is taking a quarterback in the 5th round who got as dinged up as Richardson, who couldn't keep himself healthy, scares the shit out of me. Now, does that guarantee that Anthony Richardson is going to get hurt? Of course not. So I wouldn't just fully fade Anthony Richardson if I'm doing 10 drafts and I like Richardson. Sure, I'd be fine drafting him once or twice. But in the 5th round, with the injury concerns to me, that is just a reason to stay away. I'd definitely rather have CJ Stroud, the other second-year quarterback. So we're back up on the clock here. The running backs are starting to really dwindle. Guys like DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Tony Pollard. If you draft Tony Pollard in the Lord's year of 2024, then you're just kind of cruising for a bruising. Now, maybe he is better than what we saw last season in Dallas, but I actually kind of like the Tennessee Titans offense. I think it's very interesting, especially if their quarterback, Will Levis, the Mayo Man, is able to level up in a way. But going from the Dallas O-line and the offensive production to Tennessee is kind of just not very good at all. Now, T. Higgins is a guy that I was kind of hoping might potentially leave the Bengals. He is the wide receiver 2 on the team, but again, if something was to happen to Jamar Chase, just like if something was to happen to A.J. Brown, knock on wood, T. Higgins could potentially be a top 5, top 3 guy every single week. I think that Joe Burrow's health does concern me a decent amount, right? Joe Burrow has gotten hurt these last couple of seasons. He was constantly banged up last year. Real down year out of Monsieur T. Higgins last season, but again, I don't think it's time to hit the fucking panic button. I don't think it's time to fully panic with him. Other guys available, Christian Kirk, could be the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville, but they drafted Brian Thomas. They have Gabe Davis. And Trevor Lawrence hasn't really lived up to his expectations. We got Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver 1, with Jaden Daniels that I kind of like, but again, I think I'd rather just take the safer option with upside in T. Higgins than just hope that Terry McLaurin comes back to us, because Terry McLaurin feels a lot better as my wide receiver 3 compared to my wide receiver 2. But of course, we get bent over a table here and we are not able to select him. So after T. Higgins, Christian Kirk, and Terry McLaurin. Now, this is something I'm going to spew all off season. So if you guys want to hear more about my takes, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. But I'm going to sound like a broken record by August. The reason why you want to come into your draft with a very open mind is so that you don't trap yourself into certain scenarios, right? To enter the draft, my goal pretty much with a 4 with a 2-flex league where I can start 4 receivers is to draft 4 receivers very, very early, right? But the opportunity arose to take Saquon and Jonathan Taylor, so I took it. The opportunity arose for me to take Travis Kelce in the 3rd round, so instead of taking Waddle, I took it, right? Maybe there'll be some regrets at the end of the draft. Maybe I'll hate my fucking team. But you don't want to come into the draft thinking, hey, I need to draft 3 receivers off the rip because it lets me start 3 receivers or it lets me start 2 receivers and 2 flexes, because then you're going to trap yourself in a box and you're going to miss out on value. I think while our wide receiver core might be lacking, we are going to have the best running back duo to start the season, and we have a top 3 tight end, and we have receivers that any given game could pop off. So I like this build that we have so far. Now the question is, while I wanted to go wide receiver, do we take a wide receiver here instead of going with a quarterback? Now, I have mentioned my worries about Joe Burrow, right? This is a guy that kind of just gets hurt tying his fucking cleats. But when he plays, this is a guy that could score 30-plus points, right? When he got healthy, he starts off the season, he's banged up, not looking the best, right? Then 24 points. Sure, he has a down game against Seattle. Then a bye week, 27, 22, 21. Then he gets hurt up against the Ravens. This is a 20-plus point guy basically weekly. This is a guy that has the upside to put your team on his back, fucking backpack from Dora the Explorer style. But there is the injury risk. This is the 6th round. Looking at the teams around us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks already taken off the board. I'm fine waiting at quarterback. But again, looking at the value right now, I don't think that DeAndre Swift is fucking speaking to me like the Green Goblin's mask, right? It's not in the back of my head. I'm not hearing, draft me, right? DeAndre Swift, that never happens. I like Zamir White. The 6th round might be a little too pretty of a penny for me. Rashee Rice, I like him, but probably suspended. George Pickens, I like him, but what happens with Mr. Unlimited? Is it Justin Fields? Who is it? I like Calvin Ridley. How good is Will Levis? I think Calvin Ridley is actually going to end up being sneaky good. I think I'm going to really talk myself into Calvin Ridley. But the question right here for me, I think Jaden Reed's worth a 6th round pick, so it's either Jaden Reed or Joe Burrow. Do I want the stack of Burrow with T. Higgins, or do I want to continue to build out my flexes? Because I feel pretty confident in the quarterbacks I could take late. A guy like Jordan, love me tender, love me sweet, maybe snag Kyler in the 7th round. When Kyler's healthy, that guy's a fucking beast as well. So I think I'm going to lean with Jaden Reed. I am a huge Jaden Riley Reed fan. I believe he's the wide receiver 1 for Jordan Love. I am going to be legitimately, metaphorically abusing the draft button when I see that Jaden Reed is available. He is one of my favorite picks in the 6th, the 7th round. I am ecstatic to get him. I loved what I saw last season, and I loved what I saw out of Jordan Love. It's going to tell me like, oh, Nick, this is a reach. Probably. Oh, it didn't actually tell me that. It didn't tell me to get a nice reach around there, but I love that pick. Now, some of you guys that have been watching the channel for a while, Nick, you fell for Christian Watson last year. I kind of like Christian Watson again, but I do definitely think Jaden Reed is the wide receiver 1. Dalton Kincaid in the 6th round. I mean, that is just the type of pick where if I didn't have Travis Kelce, that probably would have been a top of my thought process as well, but it didn't even click with me that Dalton Kincaid was available because I think drafting Kelce and Kincaid on the same team would be stupid. Kincaid might end up leading the team in targets. I don't think he will, but he could, right? The wide receiver core of Curtis Samuel, the wide receiver core that involves some not so hot pieces. Sure, they got Coleman in the draft, but this is not a hot wide receiver core. It's not the Dolphins, right? So I really do think that Dalton Kincaid, it's not the Bengals, right? I think this is a team that is going to be very excited to throw the ball a bunch to Dalton Kincaid. So Kincaid, Zamir White, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, George Pickens, Rashee Rice, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, Roma Dunze, Dak Prescott, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, my boy, George Kittle, me Timbers, Jaylen Warren in the 7th round. You might as well take me out back and shoot me. Joe Burrow, Evan Ingram, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, and Xavier Worthy. I mean, if you draft Jaylen Warren in the 7th round, your death is going to be like, it's going to feel like Pie Oh My, RIP, shout out to Pie Oh My. So we're back up on the clock here. I like Kyler a lot. Now, again, important to note, 4 teams still don't have a quarterback. This team ahead of me has a quarterback. They have Jalen Hurts. So this is why you look at the draft board, see what's going on around us. So there's no reason for us to take Kyler with this pick, because guess who is going to be back available for us in the next round, unless, of course, this team gets a little bit loco, a little bit crazy, and they draft Kyler Murray, which is possible, but I don't think they will, because that would be stupid. Now, if you play with a bunch of buffoon league mates, you play with a bunch of idiots, the people that don't have enough brain cells to rub together, then that is possible to happen. But assuming the best out of your league, right, you're going to assume Kyler falls to you. Because, again, taking Kyler and Jalen Hurts in a one-quarterback league is so stupid. But, again, you never really know in fantasy football, right? Your league mates might be a little bit crazy. This is where the fall-off starts to feel more prevalent at tight end, right? I like David Njoku, the player. I didn't like what I saw to David Njoku last year when Deshaun Watson, the massage man, was healthy. I loved what I saw when he wasn't there with Joe Flacco, but Flacco is now gone, and they want Watson to be healthy, so I don't know, man. Watson said he's back to his old ways, so pray for the massage parlors in Cleveland, the masseuses, as they might call them. I love Jake Ferguson. Absolutely, love Jake Ferguson. So excited about him this year. Dallas didn't really add anything. So Jake Ferguson is kind of like Dalton Kincaid. I already like Dalton Kincaid, but now I like him more. I already like Jake Ferguson, but now I like him even more. So we're up on the clock here. Tajay Spears feels fine. Like, Tony Pollard isn't the best. Raheem Mostert actually feels like a good pick as well. But the question is, what does the split look like? Is it 33, 33, 33 snap split? Mostert, Wright, Jalen Wright, the guy that just drafted, and Devin 2 chains? Or is it a chain heavy, then Raheem Mostert kind of mixing in, and Jalen Wright kind of mixing in as well? Can Jalen Wright take Raheem Mostert's job? Raheem Mostert is old as fuck. So it kind of concerns me. Again, I'm not saying to fade Raheem Mostert. I think he's fine the 7th round. But based upon the fact that we have Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley, knock on wood, we hope they stay healthy, right? We're not rooting for injuries. If they stay healthy, they're in the lineup every single week. You're never even really considering these guys unless you play them in your flex. So for me, I'm going to go and hunt for some more upside. I think the most upside pick here is either Jordan Addison or Deontay Johnson. I'm pretty off of JSN. And not because I think JSN's a bad player, but because I don't really want to dive back into the Seattle offense with Lockett, Metcalf, and JSN again. It seemed like Geno didn't really, he had his fucking blinders on, Ray Charles style, and couldn't see Jackson Smith-Njigba. He was like John Cena, and that sucked. Like, when Drew Lock was in there, it was really good for JSN, but with Geno Smith, it wasn't really working. Addison, I think, might take a hit, and this might be a hit from Mike Tyson on Jordan Addison because of the fact that Kirk isn't there, but I think that JJ McCarthy is good enough. But I also want to take Kyler. So in a real predicament, because I think by the time we get to pick again, there's a chance that not only Kyler's gone, Love is gone, and Purdy, and I like Caleb Williams, but I don't love him that much. So I'm going to go with Kyler here. Again, we might end up regretting it, but I think Kyler any given week has the quarterback one in him. Rushing quarterbacks are basically cheat codes. The Konami code in fantasy football is having that elite quarterback, and we shouldn't have done that. I don't know why we did that. We just talked all about that. I thought we made a pick, and we just didn't. Now, in real life, I would have paid more attention, right? Like, I really thought we made it. We were yapping for so long that I thought we already made our fucking 7th round pick. I'm a buffoon. I'm the idiot league mate we talked about, but none of the guys I wanted even went. But sorry about that. But I'm not going to edit that out. I'm not going to go back, right? It happens when you're talking. It's also May. Doesn't have to be that serious. It's not like it's August, right? Where you're watching this, your draft's like tomorrow. You're shaking, thinking about it. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't prepare in May, June, July. I started watching videos 2 days before, which is fine. I'm going to get you that W, that fantasy championship, the belt, the strap. Anyways, but, if you start paying attention now, there's more room for mistakes because things are going to change. So we're going Jordan Addison here. I think it's a little bit more risky than Deontay Johnson because I think Deontay Johnson is just going to be devouring targets like a fat kid eating ice cream. But we're going Jordan Addison, Ray. I'm not all in on Jordan Addison. I love the player. I'm just not all into this situation. I think if you're drafting DeAndre Hopkins in 2024 with Calvin Ridley now there, you're just a little crazy. I don't think DeAndre Swift. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is off the reservation. I don't think he's over the hump But I just think with Calvin Ridley there, like, it's just not as exciting. So Jordan Love went, so we made the right moves. Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy went. So after we went with Jordan Addison, right? Jordan, love me tender, love me sweet, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, Brian Robinson, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Austin Eckler, Jackson Smith in the Jigba, Devin Singletary, Hollywood Brown, Trey Benson, Chase Brown, Jonathan Brooks, Zach Charbonnet, Christian Watson, Cortland Sutton, Gus Edwards. Oh, all the running backs that I really liked are gone. The running backs that I like are dead on arrival again. We're still going to have Saquon and Jonathan Taylor, so we're fine. But these early drafts, right? If I'm doing my actual fantasy football draft today, right, and I'm not doing it in August, I might consider taking 3 running backs in a row at the beginning because we're drafting as if it's August, right? We're not necessarily drafting as if it's May, even though we just have May information, but the reason why I want to draft more running backs early is because my confidence right now in these late round picks is very low, right? I like Blake Corum, but who knows how involved he'll be. I like Jerome Ford a lot because I think Jerome Ford F-150 will be in the driver's seat early on when Chubb is out. And then if Chubb is just, the reports are kind of that Chubb will be fine eventually, but what happens if Chubb doesn't come back correctly? What happens if he doesn't come back looking correct? Then Jerome Ford is the clear running back 1 there. And you're getting him in the 9th round. And again, if the Chubb owner's down bad, you can also trade him to him. So we're going to go Jerome Ford F-150 here. And then again, we're kind of just in a running back hellhole. Now, there's running backs in here that I like. There's running backs in here that we are going to take as the draft goes along. We're going to talk about them. But based upon how this draft went, we don't need to just draft another running back here because our goal, again, is to start 4 receivers every single week. We already got our quarterback, Kyler. We got our tight end, Travis Kelce. So we're not going to draft a quarterback or a tight end again. When Kelce's on bye or if he gets hurt, we just pick someone up. Same thing goes with Kyler. So looking at receiver here, Ladd McConkey is the clear pick. Ladd McConkey, a video of him came out yesterday in OTAs, and that guy looked like Julian Edelman, Cooper Kupp, and that's just a joke because he's a white wide receiver, right? And people are going to say that about him. But he looked good. He looks good. I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver in terms of targets in LA. I think there's still reason to draft Joshua Palmer, though, because he comes at a huge discount. But Ladd McConkey right now in the 10th round, I think people are going to steam this guy up. People are going to really get down on their knees, give him the gawk 9,000 special. He's going to rise quicker than a rooster in the morning cockadoodle do. So I really do like him in this situation. Now, they're going to be a run-heavy offense without a doubt. Without a doubt, but Ladd can still be involved with Justin Herbert. After we went with Ladd, Blake Corum came off the board, followed by Kendre Miller, Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt, Ty Chandler, Curtis Samuel, Roshan Johnson, Rico Dowdle, Brian Thomas Jr., Mike Will made it, Khalil Herbert, Adam Thielen, Jaleel McLaughlin, Tyler Algier, J.K. Dobbins, just kidding, Jake Ferguson, Joshua Palmer, Jacoby Myers, Romeo Dobbs, Keon Coleman, and Miles Sanders. Taking Miles Sanders in 2024 is like, you just have no idea what's going on if you draft him, frankly. Like that's like a straight up idiot league mate move. Like that person has, it's the 10th round, it's the 11th round, Nick. You can take whoever you want, Nick. You say that all the time. Shoot for the moon, aim for the stars. Yeah. But Miles Sanders sucks more donkey cock than Mia Malkova, than Alexis Texas, than Violet Myers, okay? So don't do that. Don't do that. We're back up on the clock here. We're probably going receiver again, and then we're going to just hammer these late round running backs. Josh Downs, I think, could start ahead of A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell. It's always Jameson Williams' season, frankly, because the guy's just so fast. Like, one of these years, it's going to hit. It hasn't worked 2 years in a row, but it's still the 11th round. You'd be interested in that. You can talk yourself into a guy like Jahan Dotson. I think Jerry Jeudy was one of the most overrated players every single year in fantasy, but now that he's in Cleveland and now that he's at such a discount, like maybe this is the breakout time. Right? Maybe this is the time where he really starts to go crazy. I mean, I wouldn't say that he's necessarily a bust because he had a wide receiver 18 finish in 2022. But again, nothing really to write home about. So I think we're just going to go with the upside of Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson was absolutely atrocious last season, but you could put that on the quarterback play. Jameson Williams, they're kind of the same. They're just upside players. But I've seen more out of Jahan Dotson than I've seen out of Jameson Williams, so I feel a little bit more confident in him. But again, these are all kind of just dart throws at this point again, because in May you don't have as much information. The late round picks are way easier to make, even though there's still a lot of unknowns about the players, right? But it's a lot easier to make an educated decision in August after we see a bunch of preseason, a bunch of stuff like OTAs just started. So Jahan Dotson, Ravens, Dillon, do not draft AJ Dillon. Also, do not draft a defense this early. You just wait till the end of the draft and you draft a defense, play up against a not so hot offense in week 1, which we'll talk about more as we get closer to having the actual NFL schedule, which is this week, I believe. Very, very nice. Shout out to Borat. So we're back up on the clock here. We currently have 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6 wide receivers, 3 running backs. I think it's time to take a running back here. I'm going to go with Marshawn Lloyd. Clear backup to Josh Jacobs because I think that A.J. Dillon is absolutely atrocious. Now, this is important to note. If it's August and A.J. Dillon's still starting above Marshawn Lloyd and Marshawn Lloyd looks terrible in preseason, there's no hype for him, then don't draft him. But the upside is there for him to, if something was to happen to Josh Jacobs, knock on wood, we don't have injuries, the upside is there based upon what I have seen on tape for Marshawn Lloyd. So we're going to go ahead and draft him here. You can go with Jameson Williams as well, but I feel like we have enough receivers to where I could just wait until the next round and take another late round shot, whereas I don't think for sure that the running back would have been there. So after we went ahead and drafted Marshawn Lloyd, Brock Bowers comes off the board, which feels very interesting because of how high he went in the drafted and how great of a prospect he is. Kind of sucks that he went to the Raiders, though. Josh Downs, Jameson Williams, Dallas Goedert, Rashid Shaheed, Shahid, 49ers, Schultz, Hawkinson, Cole Kmet, Gabe Davis, Pat Fryermuth, Adonai Mitchell, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Wright, Elijah Mitchell, Chig, Cowboys, Musgrave, Packers, and Ray Davis. So back up on the board here. So we're going to go receiver and then running back to close out this draft. Khalil Shakira is available. Call me crazy, but I'm going to draft Demario Douglas. I think Demario Douglas is the best receiver on the Patriots. I think quarterback play is going to be better this year out of either Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. So Drizzy Drake May. But it's Drizzy Drake London. So Drake May, he's going to need a different nickname. But we're going to go with Demario Douglas here for that late round shot. And then we're going to go running back. Keaton Mitchell was fine. But I want to go with Bucky Irving. I liked the Bucky Irving tape. I think he's going to be the RB2 in Tampa Bay. I think if Rashad White was to go down, knock on wood, Bucky Irving could look like a sensational pick this late. So that's what we're going to go ahead and go with here. And again, guys like Marshawn Lloyd, guys like Bucky Irving, they need to ride the bench for a while to be useful unless like a crazy injury happens. So we're going to go ahead and draft Bucky Irving here with this pick. And then we're going kicker and defense. At this point in the draft, kicker and defense in May, you don't have to use that much. You don't have to use your noggin too much. But once we get into once we get the schedule, it'll be a lot easier to break down. So we're going to go defense first. We're just going to pick the best kicker available because Brandon Aubrey, shout out to Drizzy Drake, is still available. And then we're going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're the highest ranked defense. Who's winning in the comment section? Hendrick or Drake? Let me know down below in the comment section. If you even care. Like I know a lot of you guys be like, Nick, I don't give a shit about, I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass about rap beef. Probably most people don't care, but I don't really care either. It's just when you comment on the video, it really helps the algorithm. So we're going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. And then we are going to close the draft out by recapping our team. We got a D+. They think our team is straight cheeks. They think our team is drafted terribly. They think this team sucks. Well, that's okay. That's okay, because we got Kyler Murray, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, Travis Kelce, Jana Reed, Jordan Addison. I love the running back room. I love our quarterback. I love our tight end. The wide receivers are a little bit suspect. But it could work because we have a bench for a reason and we have the waiver wire for a reason as well. You don't win your league in your draft. It just helps you. Pittsburgh Steelers, Brandon Aubrey. Our bench is Jerome Ford, Ladd McConkey, Jahan Dotson, Marshawn Lloyd, Demario Douglas, Bucky Irving. Right now, if you are the 11th pick to me, I felt almost entrapped into taking a running back. Because while I like Garrett Wilson, I like Marvin Harrison, I don't really want to take Marvin Harrison at the 1.11. I don't really want to do that. I would be fine taking him here. Maybe our team would look better if we went Saquon Barkley, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then went some more running backs later, but that's not what we did. We went differently, And that's why we practice mock drafts, right? Would I say that I love this team, that I'm going to roster bait to this one? Probably not. But I think the team's good. It has a lot of upside. And that's why we do these drafts, to practice to be better. And again, it's May. Don't take things super seriously, because my opinion is going to change and things are going to change, right? The ADPs are going to be drastically different in most years from May till August. There's going to be a player that we didn't even talk about, that wasn't even drafted, that's going to go in like the 7th round. There's going to be players that go in the 3rd round that fall ass backwards all the way down the draft boards. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below, hit that like button, check out one of the videos on your screen right now. If you haven't seen them already, I love you guys. Have a great one. As always, good boy.